If not recommended, would be fire and.
I'm Dave. Well done.
Hi, Dave.
Hi, Lisa. Did I talk to you?
It sounds like a, well, like, research or seating climate. But somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's just like California history has amazing stories about Charlotte through its abundance. Well, we.
Well, we have all these like horrendous cycles of drought.
All right, let's get started here. Welcome, calling the meeting to order. And this is the biggest group that we've had so far. So I'm really encouraged that we have nearly full group. Linda is not going to make it today, but you know, see her next time. Thank you for coming. And so do we want public comments?
I'll take roll call.
Sure.
Voice vote. Andrea Wheeler. Yep. David Burkhart.
Here.
Jeff Micko.
Here.
Dennis Watson.
Here.
Linda Marquez, not present. Lisa Rosenblum. Caitlin Dempsey Moraes. Present.
All right. Thank you. Move to the approval of the minutes.
And now we can take public comments.
Okay, now we'll take public comments. Is there anyone on the line?
There are none.
Okay, thank you. So, approval of the minutes. I actually did look at last minutes, but are there any comments on the minutes before we approve? None? All right. So do we have to make a motion?
I move to approve the minutes.
Okay.
I
Good motion.
second.
And a second. All in favor of approval?
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, 1 second.
Oh.
Let me catch up.
Are we done yet?
Apologies, my screen's giving me a little bit of a hard time. Okay. My screen is acting up. I will take the roll call, but it may not display on the screen, so we'll just
Manually?
I'm sorry.
Just record manually?
We'll record it on the recording, but just if you could repeat the vote. Oh, here it goes, here it goes. Okay, it's going now. Maybe. Okay, let me just, I'll call. Andrea Wheeler.
Yes.
Peter Burkhardt.
Approve.
Jeff Micko.
Yes.
Dennis Watson.
Yes.
Linda Marquez, not present. Lisa Rosenblum.
Yes.
Caitlin Moraes.
Yes.
The motion passes.
All right. Thank you. So, again, thanks everyone for coming. I'm really encouraged and excited to see that we have actually people in every seat on the committee. So, very good. Thanks, Dennis, for interviewing the folks.
Sure.
And I missed the last meeting, the one where actually go out and visit the field, and that was the most disappointing thing of that for me. But was there anything that came out of that trip or that meeting that anyone wants to mention?
I was just very impressed by the whole operation. And I remember the gentleman's name that gave us the tour, but very, very impressed with his professionalism and what they're doing out there.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, let's, thanks for that, Dennis. As far as, you know, an opening report, I don't know if everyone's got a chance to look at the expenditure report, but it's very impressive if you go through it. I really appreciated the work that went into it, and I'm sure anyone looking at it will, be impressed as well. I like the summary. Is Christina here? Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. The summary of all the, you know, the details of all the projects that are going on. It's, and really very nicely laid out, easy to read, and I think that'll help us as we go through and select the whatever projects that we are going to evaluate. So thanks for that, and don't go away. Yeah, stick around. So are there any members of the public?
They're done.
All right. I'm missing that the next page of the agenda.
On the back.
Wasn't on this one. Okay, and then is there a statement from Justina then?
You gotta go up one. If you guys want to.
Oh. I am, okay.
Through the chair. I can lead us through the next item.
Okay, please.
So it's, the first item is the election of committee officers, chairperson and vice chairperson for 2026. Good morning, Caroline Hernandez, clerk of the board, and today staff recommends the expenditure plan oversight committee follow the described proceedings to nominate and elect committee officers, chairperson and vice chairperson for 2026. And pursuant to the expenditure plan oversight committee bylaws, the election for the expenditure plan oversight committee officers shall be held at the first regular meeting of each year. Each office shall be voted separately by roll call vote. The candidate receiving a majority of votes of the committee shall be elected and will assume office at the meeting. And current officers shall be eligible for re-election. So the recommended procedure is that the current chairperson will call for a motion to nominate a chairperson for 2026. When there is at least one motion on the floor and up to 3 maximum, the chairperson will call for a vote. The last nomination made will be voted on first in accordance with Rosenberg's Rules of Orders. The first nomination that receives a majority vote will be elected and no other votes will be taken. And then we'll repeat the process for vice chair.
Okay, thank you. So nominations from the floor.
I nominate Dave Burkhardt for chair.
I second that.
Any other nominations?
Feel free to nominate yourself too.
Yes.
Let's just term limits I nominate.
Right. Going once, twice, okay. So here we take the vote. Caroline?
Yes.
Okay.
Let me type this in here.
So. The only nomination is for me and. All in favor?
Oh. Let me get caught up. Sorry, there we go. Okay, I'm sorry. The motion was made by Andrea Wheeler.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Andrea Wheeler,
Yes.
David Burkhardt,
Yes.
Jeff Miko,
Yes.
Dennis Watson,
Yes.
Linda, oh, I'm sorry, Linda's not here. Lisa Rosenblum,
Yes.
Caitlin Moraes.
Yes.
Oops. Okay. The motion passed.
All right. I have a quick question.
for the group if it's appropriate. And before we nominate for vice chair, I was just wondering if there's anyone who, you know, actively desires and if they could step forward, that might make the nomination a little easier because sometimes when we nominate somebody, we just go with that. But so, I mean, if there is anybody that is interested in that spot, perhaps they're ready to take on them. Yeah.
Do we know if Lynn is open to doing it again? Not fair to. I don't know. What if we elect her? But no.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Teacher, not to show up.
That's right.
She can always resign. From my point of view, if I was person new, I'd like to have served for the year, but I think that's important, so.
So,
Jeff, were
Yeah.
you thinking you want to?
yeah, and you can nominate yourself.
Yeah.
So,
I just wanted to say that, just in case somebody had, really wanted to get into it.
And I guess it's worth mentioning that, the roles of chairperson, vice chairperson, they lead the meeting, the vice chairperson will, preside as, the chairperson if the chair is not here. And Linda, as a vice chair, has come to a board meeting to present on, the annual report on behalf of the Expenditure Plan Oversight Committee. So those are kind of the, major responsibilities of the role.
I would like to nominate Linda for vice chair.
I second that.
who would like to nominate Andrew?
Me? Oh, I respectfully decline. I was the vice chair and then the chair already, so I feel like I
Done.
done it. It's nice to see new blood, I think. But thank you.
So, any other nominations? Right. We'll close the nominations.
Andrea Wheeler,
Yes.
David Burkhardt.
Yes.
Jeff Nika,
Yes.
Dennis Watson,
Yes.
Lisa Rosenblum,
Yes.
Caitlin Rice.
Yes.
Thank you. Just as a follow-up, I'll update, our expenditure plan oversight committee rosters, with the new information, and then I will, email that to the group so that you have it.
Right, thanks. And Christina?
First one doesn't need it yet. I'll put it up later. Thank you. Okay. Good afternoon, committee members. Today, we are presenting the results of the authority's independent financial audit for the Measure Q and Measure T funds for fiscal year ending in June 30th, 2025. As required by the expenditure plans, the role of the committee is to review the expenditures annually to ensure that they conform to the plans and also submit an oversight report. So there are some tools to help get to the report. The financial audit report is one of those key components to assist with the review of the expenditures. Typical of any financial audit, the report consists of the independent auditor's report, the balance sheet, the statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance, and the accompanying notes. The balance sheet on page 4 of the audit report shows the available ending fund balance for Q and T, Measure Q and Measure T. And the statement of revenues and expenditures on page 5 details the revenues received, as well as including any interest, any reimbursements and grants that we leveraged against the projects. And then he's on, yeah. And here, it's for the report for the audit, which is exhibit Um, one, A?
I did not print out exhibit A for them.
Okay. I don't believe Exhibit A was printed, but it was in the packet. For it was a copy of our financial audit for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2025. But here with us on the call today is a representative from our auditor's office, Adam, from Moss, Levy, and Hartzheim. And Adam will briefly discuss the audit standards and the approach taken and present the results. And then with that, I'll hand it over to Adam, is on the call.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, yes. As Justina introduced, my name is Adam Geis, and I was the partner in charge of doing the audit this year from Moss, Levy, and Hartzheim, based out of our office in Santa Maria, California. So what you have before you is the final report, the final audit of the Measure Q and Measure T funds. So just to go through briefly, the first thing I wanted to point out is pages 1 through 3 is our audit opinion on these two funds. And our audit opinion is an unmodified opinion, which is the best kind of audit opinion. It basically means we were able to complete all of our procedures, look at all the compliance, test all the balances and numbers in the funds, and that we agree with all of the numbers that are presented here. So that is the best kind of audit opinion. And as required by the expenditure plans, the audit was completed prior to January 1st. The audit report date was actually October 30th, 2025. Pages 4 and 5 are kind of the meat of the statements. Page 4 is the balance sheet, which lists out all of the assets and liabilities of these two funds. Keep in mind that this is a balance sheet snapshot in time as of June 30, 2025, and does not reflect any changes since that date in the last 7 months. And then page 5 is the statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance. Or those of you more familiar with business statements, this would be similar to an income statement or a profit and loss statement. Lists out the revenues, the major revenues being the assessments for Measure T, and then the investment income on the cash that's invested in these funds until usage. And then for the expenditures portion, we do list out capital outlay that's specifically for acquisition of capital assets. And then the rest of it is listed by type of expenditure. So what the expenditures were used for. And then the resulting ending fund balance, again, that is as of June 30, 2025. As you can see, Measure Q spent down about 1.5 million of its funding to start the year. And Measure T took in revenue above the expenditures during the year of just a little over 3 million, growing that fund balance over the course of the fiscal year. The rest of the report provides a few notes which describe some of the accounting policies, and then goes over a couple more significant items. Sorry, turning the page. Page 10, just to discuss the interfund transactions between the two different funds. And then on pages 12 and 13, we have the revenues and expenditures in comparison with the approved budgets for the two funds. During the course of our audit, we did come up to visit the district offices as well as do some work remotely. And during the course of our audit, we do get an understanding of the internal controls and financial processes established by the agency. And then we do test samples of transactions for disbursements, payroll, receipts, as well as look at the timing of revenues and expenditures near year end, and test to make sure that the revenues and expenditures are recorded in the proper fiscal year. So this is the final report that you have in front of you. And again, it's an unmodified opinion on the audit. And I would like to thank Justina and the rest of the staff for all the work that they do to get us all the reporting and documents and invoices, backup, all that kind of stuff that we need during the course of our audit procedures. I'll open it back up to you guys if you have any questions for me.
Thank you, Adam. Are there any questions for our auditor or for me?
Hi, Adam. Yeah, this is Dave Burkhardt. I have a question on who selects or how are the samples, the project samples selected? And you know, who makes those decisions?
That would be me and my audit team. So basically we get lists of all of the transactions during the year. And then we plug it into, basically it's a random number generator to make those samples.
Right, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. And so that concludes the audit portion. I could continue on to the status report, but thank you so much for your help, Adam.
Thank you, Adam.
Thank you, guys.
Okay. So following up the second piece that would help aid the drafting of the oversight report. On December 11th of 2025, the board received the annual expenditure plan status report for the same fiscal year that we're reporting 24-25. And today we're presenting a copy of it. It's this thick one that we printed out. And so we're presenting a copy of it as a supplemental item to the independent financial audit. So you'll have the audit in the packet to review as well as the status report. To conduct an independent review of the revenues and expenditures for both Q and T. As a refresher, especially with new members of the committee, I'll go over the sections of the report just to kind of ground the layout of the land. Section 1 is a narrative that includes the summary of the budget and work plan development process, the kind of the little bit of a sausage making into the budget itself, the audit process and the finding, which you heard from the auditor just now. And then there's some charts that would show the expenditures broken down by the major expense categories, so as to match the project details page. And so section 1 is mostly, I would say it's very focused on the financials and the numbers. Section 2 of the report has the expenditure plan category charts to include percentages. There's a how-to screenshot of how to read the project details sample page. There's a list of the projects that were completed and on hold. We kind of on each page added list of the outside services that we utilize, how much the project has spent to date. And then similarly, that overview picture not only shows Q and T, it would also show leverage funds. So if there's a project that had funding in addition to Measure Q and Measure T, that project cost is kind of presented there as well. So section 2 is mostly about the project status. So you've got section 1 focused on the numbers, and section 2 is the descriptions of the project, and then that way you can see which I'll say EPC, that's the expenditure plan category. Those are the one of the 4 that are outlined in the expenditure plans. And so they're grouped and shown as to which project that is fulfilling which category objective. And then section 3 is it provides more information about our urban grant program that is under EPC 4 of the expenditure plan. There's the process of the solicitation itself, the award, how we track the disbursements, the summary of the balances left for the grantees, and how much we've dispersed in the year as well. And then section 4, the last section, is regarding the administrative allowance costs, as well as costs associated with the expenditure plan oversight committee. In Measure Q, there's no more allowances considering that we're no longer receiving any more revenue collections. However, under Measure T, each year the board approves an allowance for administrative costs. And that section explains the breakdown, what type of expenses Measure T funded to for the specific reported fiscal year as well. And then Appendix A kind of acts like an index. So committee members, general public, they can just easily locate the page number of the project ID. So then you can just flip straight to one of the pages in section 2. And then just to recap real quick, I'm just going to switch it over to the PowerPoint. Okay. Let's go to the second slide. So this was kind of, you'll have that table in section 1 of the report. Similarly, what happens is in Measure Q and Measure T, 2 columns, we broke it down to where there's the project-related costs, there's the disbursements related to the grants program, where those projects are the grantees' projects, but we award them out. And then the cost of the expenditure plan oversight committee. For the committee, just to refresh, the expenditure plan puts a cap on the expenses that could be charged to that allowance, and that is 1/10 of 1% of the revenues received. And then the administrative costs, this is what we had recorded for this current fiscal year 24, for this reported fiscal year 24-25. And the board had approved an allowance of 2 million at the beginning of the fiscal year. And then another thing to note is that while Measure T brings in $24 per parcel per year, it is collected by the county's assessor office. They take a 1% off the top. So we get the net proceeds of the 99%. So that is a fee that we include on there to show for transparency, but we did not receive that amount. And then so then that in a way is considered an expenditure as well. So total expenditures for Measure Q was about 1.8 million. Measure T was about 6 million, a little over 6 million. And then kind of going over a recap of section 2, just for some statistics, project status, a bulk of our expenditures go toward expenditure plan 3, which typically encompasses capital improvement projects. That includes public access. And then we also have the maintenance and operations of the open space preserves itself. We currently have 4 open preserves, plus we also have docent-led events on other preserves as well. And then one of the larger component of it is also the environmental education programs that we provide to connect people to nature. And so all those are funded under EPC 3. And so when we're tracking it, we are tracking 37 project IDs under EPC 3. EPC 1 is typically for acquisitions, any type of policy work that has to do with protecting natural working lands. And then EPC 2 is also work that's related to restoration around water, streams, and rivers. And then just to kind of give a recap, again, it's a snapshot in time as of June 30th, 2025. The number of project by status is that bar chart there. We have quite a handful of ongoing project codes. Those project codes are typically associated with the preserve maintenance that do not end. They are every year, they continue on. And then there are a few completed projects. We had 5 completed projects by the end of the fiscal year, and most were on track. There were a few that were put on hold. And in the report, we can also go over which projects and the reason why. And then while the pie chart on the left shows the number of projects, the one on the right is basically it's by dollars. So the investment of the MQ and MT dollars by EPC. Again, the biggest chunk is EPC 3, considering that it's ongoing maintenance plus capital improvement projects. So then half of our expenses that we spent in the fiscal year went toward those projects. And then with that, kind of to give the committee a sense of the projects, We were tracking 52 projects and 22 urban grant programs last fiscal year in 24-25. And of those 52 projects, 5 were marked as completed by the end of the fiscal year. And then with any questions regarding the report, anything I could go in detail about, opening the forum up to questions.
I have a basic question,
Mhm.
and it's very simple, and my apologies. Between Q and T.
Mhm.
Now, I understand the voters in 2020
Mhm.
voted for the continuation of Q with T.
Yes.
We're currently collecting monies from Q and T, or no?
No. So what happens is Q is only what has been unspent since 2015 to 2020. We are no longer collecting any revenues from Q. We have zero income coming from Measure Q. That
You're spending it down,
yeah, we're spending it down.
so that means once you've spent it down, it's just T.
Yes, that is correct.
So that implies to me that there's gonna be less money to use, because T is a set percentage every year. It does not go up with inflation.
Correct. It is a flat $24 per parcel per year. That is correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Which is the same as Q.
It was, but what happens is the agency is only getting that $24. It is not 24 from Q and 24 from T. Yeah. Mhm.
The annual amount didn't change.
Correct.
When it switched from Q to T.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
I have a bunch of questions.
Sure.
You know,
Yeah.
they're most of my just questions, they're not, you don't know the answers. That's fine, but as I was going through, it's just questions that come up. What were the main reasons for the underspend? You had underspend?
It just in general or any specific project or
What the
if we ask around, it'll be mostly staff capacity is one. I'm trying to think what happened in 24-25. Yes, thank you. So one of the projects specifically, which also is a high budget project, CV Camp, you may have heard. We had a slight delay, or maybe not so slight, but we actually had to change consultants. Yeah.
No, did you use CD Camp in here? What is it again? And
Sure.
is there a proposal to rename it to be more clear what it is?
Oh, so CV Camp is Coyote Valley Conservation Areas Master Plan. Planning. Plan, yes.
Okay. So like I noticed under Measure Q, there was about $1 million underspend. It was on page 10. And then in Measure T, there was $2.4 million that underspend from the budget. And so that's like $3.5 million.
Yeah.
Primarily CD Camp or
They are a big chunk. The other one would be, if we notice on Measure Q, we had budgeted acquisitions at 1.5. And sometimes the timing is not always in our control.
Yeah.
So there might be delays to either negotiations or whether it falls through, moves ahead. So you can also see where that we only spent $100,000 of that budgeted 1.5. So that right there is almost 1.4. Yeah.
So I'm on page 17.
Mhm.
The field management plan on page 8.
Mhm.
I'm just curious why it was delayed. Like I said, these are just curiosities.
Sure.
Through the chair, if I may, Elizabeth Loretto, Administrative Operations Manager. That particular project was delayed because we have not yet found our Habitat Program Manager to deliver that project, which also contributed to some of the staffing. That's one singular position, but it's a fairly experienced higher level position. So the reduction in salary costs from that position is also part of what you're seeing, because it's a very Measure T, Measure Q applicable position.
And that project in particular is one that they will be spearheading once they get here. And we'll be trying again for recruitment soon, in case you know anyone.
Okay. I had a question on page 22, what is EOVA operations and maintenance?
Oh, that one did, that one is 309.
Not very well. Nothing very well.
So the long name is Coyote Valley properties that are owned by our partner Post Peninsula Open Space Trust.
Oh, this is the one where we're maintaining it, but they.
Yes.
Okay. What is Corey Redwoods?
Like where is it, or?
It's specifically a single parcel that is on Corey Road in the Santa Cruz Mountains. And so it's our one redwood landscape. So that's why it has that name. Corey Road and it's redwoods.
It says CROY.
That's the road name, CROY.
Just Corey Redwoods.
Yeah, Corey Road is you access it kind of south of Calero.
El Toro Public Access. Is there a date for when the shooting to open for public access?
Yeah, you ask that every year.
Yeah, through the chair, there is no date. If you go back to some of our board meetings from fall of 2025, there has been great movement in partnership with the city of Morgan Hill, but there is no expected date yet, but there has been some really great collaboration and movement with making that closer.
2026, 2027.
Something you can say for the planners when you get to talk to them about project specific things. Yes, not something I would know.
On page 25, it has a lot more has closed, and that's closed is. You know, down below, there's a status table of definitions, and there's not an explanation of what closed means.
Got it.
Kind of guessing it's completed.
Yes.
But it's a little different, right, for a grant, but it's.
Yeah, so the work is completed, as in it's either fully dispersed out or we made the final disbursement in the fiscal year. But work hasn't completed. They've submitted their final report to our grants team.
It might be worth putting the definition.
Sure.
On that table. It'd be helpful to have like what their actual grant was. Like the amount,
Got it. I see.
because this doesn't have like the full amount.
Yes, so yes, sure. So this table here on page 25 only talks about the disbursement made in the fiscal year.
Yeah.
There is in section 3 more information about the grant program, and section 3 starts. So actually, I'm starting on page 95. It lists from inception to date. The 95. That one has the award amount for every grantee, not just in this fiscal year that had disbursements.
The time, sorry. You have the award and then you have the time frame in which they have to spend that. And so some of these grants probably underspend.
Yes,
They don't meet it, and so the award expires.
correct.
So is there a table that kind of reflects like what percentage of these awards that they're actually spending?
Yes, then we can clean up this table to show it differently. There's no percentages in this table, but yes, that balance, I could create another one that's dispersed to date and then come to the balance. The thing, we do accept that some do get extensions. And so I don't have that information unless it kind of gets added in from our grants team.
It kind of gives you an indication of whether or not they're actually gonna spend the entire. Like some of these are overfunded for what they're doing, and so they don't ever spend all of it.
With the, if I may, with the committee's charge of reviewing the current
Yeah.
fiscal year, you know, some of these grants do have 5-year agreements or things like that, and so we're always looking to focus on the dollars spent this current year. And our grants team and the board are navigating, you know, how the grant is doing in its lifetime of effectiveness, I suppose, and the spend down and all of that is reflected in the kind of through the urban grant program and the board. And so like, that's why you don't see that kind of historical, because the committee's focus is about what was spent this year, not the last.
Yeah,
But I did actually have a question in my notes too, and it's later where it talks about the process and it said the committee kind of reviews and scores the grant applications. And my question was, do you review and score them afterwards for this kind of thing? Like, was this an effective grant? Was this an effective use of the grant? Was this organization a good organization to give money to? Was there part of that? Is that part of the post-grant process?
I have to say, not that I am aware of, so again, that would be another great question when we meet, is it the third meeting? Second meeting?
Second.
When the project representatives, because our grants team will be here at the time, and maybe with some specific examples too, we can dig a little deeper with them about kind of that analysis.
yeah, that's kind of where, I mean, I think we're on the same wavelength in that there's the grants and then there's the efficiency, the fiscal efficiency of those grants. And how they align with the mission of how we're spending the measure Q and T monies.
No, absolutely. I think, yeah, that kind of process question though would be best posed to our grant staff at the next meeting.
And it's within our purview to make recommendations as far as that goes. That's where.
Yeah, I mean, I think you and I are sort of coming out.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that last part. It's in our.
It's in our purview to make recommendations, but we can only make recommendations about, we can't say, well, we want you to not spend money on this grant because we didn't use the grant. It could be, we would like to see a criteria for evaluating the grant.
It'd be interesting to see how all that is recorded, so that when they come back for a grant next year, you know, you can look at. They got a C plus, you know, maybe we don't. Let the grant, or we say yes, but not as much as they're asking for.
Excuse me, I agree. In line with that, I've seen it happen where with the best of intentions, an organization will receive a grant, but they just can't handle the fiduciary reporting back, or it comes late, or it's incomplete. And so I agree. I think that should be part of any assessment or evaluation, maybe not prior, but in the future. And it could be part of the requirements of the grant that I haven't seen, that reports are submitted by X date, a quarterly report. I think the question is, if that's not happening, is there then a consequence of that?
Yeah, I will also just add, all of these grants are reimbursement based, and so if, you know, there is some kind of slowdown or ineffectiveness on the part of the organization to deliver on what they've committed, we haven't given them money unchecked. So I can clarify that point, that all of the expenses reflected here are reimbursement based on them completing that grant reporting, you know, within the parameters of their grant agreements and all of that. So great conversation. Sounds like you guys will have some great recommendations from that time.
Yes, you can let the grant coordinator know.
Oh, yeah. No, we'll put it on their radar that you guys have some great questions about understanding the process and how that'll impact funding.
I have one more question, on page 37, well, the Tilton Ranch acquisition. Just when we were there, I thought I heard some talk about an adjacent property that the authority was maybe trying to acquire as well. Was that something in the works of this?
I wasn't able to go on the field trip myself either, David. You're not the only one who missed out. So I don't know what the conversation in particular would be, but it was the portion that the Open Space Authority is responsible for managing is, a relatively small portion. And between the county and the Valley Habitat Agency, there is another, gosh, I don't know the acreage, but 4-digit kind of acreage that they are managing that is adjacent. And so that maybe there was just some confusion in how that was articulated.
And that's the plan for how.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh, and then for the Tilden Ranch acquisition, it says it's delayed. But I thought, is it delayed for some reason?
The acquisition or planning?
Oh, it's-
No,
I'm sorry.
so the thing is, there was a little blurb that was provided by staff. It's delayed due to the change of the transaction structure. Rather than buying the fee title, we might end up procuring the
Oh, yeah,
conservation.
you do.
Yeah,
So we don't see any reason to think the authority won't be able to maintain.
oh, no, no,
legal
yeah.
status.
Mhm. I think it's just the way the ownership will look like.
Page 40, the acquisition strategy document is on hold. Let me see, where's that one hold?
Yes. And then for that one, I believe, I'm trying to think of the timing, but also staff is on leave right now.
Oh. We're not putting our whole strategy.
No, not at all. It really, being a agency of our size, it can take one person taking a personal leave to pause something, there's not always a backfill to.
Oh, and do you put it on hold? Is this status like it could be on hold for a week and then off hold the next week?
No, it was on hold at the end of the fiscal
Yeah.
year is what that's indicating.
Okay. Page 48, the other piece. Some more over the road. The project is the. That's where it's from.
Okay, that one I do have. Sorry, let me pull up my back pocket information. 344, yes. So that project is being led by Valley Habitat Agency, and it's in the early planning stage. The baseline field studies and reports have taken a little bit longer than anticipated. The original timeline that we had was more aggressive, where we were thinking we wanted to construct in 2026, but Habitat Agency ended up deciding not to, but we're still on track to construct in summer of 2027, which was still within the original timeline that we established. And that was the status update that I have for that project.
Rancho Quintana del Oro backcountry field planning, which was new to me. I don't remember hearing about that. And I wonder if there was any.
That was 324. Yeah.
Through the chair, would you mind repeating the name of the project? I'm having a hard time hearing you all the way over here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Thank you.
Rancho Quintana del Oro open space, preserve backcountry trail planning.
So that one is the one that is, I believe we are looking to connect the Bay Area Ridge Trail project.
Yeah, as noted, that project is on track, and in fact, our planning team gave the board an update in fall. We'll be presenting some, I believe, public engagement is slated for later in 2026. It's a combination of backcountry trail as a consideration, expanding like the trail network at Rancho.
So any date.
No,
Dates are hard to.
Yeah.
But like I said,
I-
public engagement this year,
Yeah.
these are multi-year projects, so.
In terms of
operate
where
over the
we,
next handful of years.
in terms of where we are, we just issued a RFP for a CEQA, a consultant related to this project. So wherever that means in the project is kind of where the status is. We're in that phase.
Okay, so I have one more thing, which is not really just a question, and before I do that, I just wanted to say, I should have said this up front. You know, as always, I'm just always really impressed by this report. It was so well documented, so well formatted. It's so readable. I feel like an average taxpayer really can't find the information they want. I mean, I know it's a lot, but there's probably not an easier way to put it all together. I would like that it's so transparent. I feel like, you know, from the oversight committee perspective, I feel like this really gives a sense of trust that people have, that the authority really putting everything out there. And if someone had a specific question, and here you guys are, you guys have it, you know, the information, which is, gives, I think, a sense of trust that there's nothing being hidden and there's no like games being played. So, I think it's a fantastic document, overall. So my last thing is not actually a question, it is a bit of a problem. So on page B of appendix B, which is the response to our recommendations for the last year. The last item, which was based on review of the website, there's not a response to it. The text below has to do with the budget training process and the time.
Oh.
So I'd like to hear what the response was to those two issues. And I am unhappy because it's the only one, you know, we made these recommendations a couple of times in a row. I did notice that the investing in each page is actually a page called funding, which I think is really appropriate. If you click there and it tells you about measure Q and measure Q, which is what we were saying all along. Felt like there wasn't a direct link to being able to find information. But the second one, which was we've recommended a couple of times, was make the additional 3 key programs funded with measure Q and measure T. I don't feel like there was, you know, there isn't, you know, it's still not really that well documented. I guess it's a little better. Actually, the website right now, I keep clicking on our work and it disappears on me, but it actually is. It actually, I think, is. It's better than what. But I am disappointed that that wasn't in there. Do we have the official response that was made?
So actually, apologies, I don't. Apparently my editorial eyes missed this one. This might be from 20, we are doing 24, 25. So this was the response that was in the 23, 24. That might not have been updated. Or at least partially updated, because apparently I put the staff response for the late, the RACI chart.
Yeah. I just feel like
I would have to pull up last year's report. Yeah, we will bring it next time.
This was not the one that we just submitted last. spring?
Last spring, you did submit it, and the oversight report, I don't believe you guys had any comments regarding the website. There were no recommendations regarding the website. Yeah.
Well, then there's just something wrong then, because either we did mention it and it's not here, or this is the wrong report.
Here it comes.
No, sorry, the oversight.
Right. Our most recent, like the RACI was this year, right?
Yes, yes. So this was the one that was for 23, 24 recommendations. It was, the recommendations had to do with the samples transaction audit itself.
Make the website recommendations this time?
Not according to the report that was submitted to the board.
That I'm missing.
So what happens is there is a mistake in the printing. I forgot to remove last 2 prior fiscal years recommendation.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay, then
yeah.
never mind. It's just, then it's not, it's just a typo, it's not.
Yes, for this report, that's apologies, that is a typo. It was supposed to be where, based on the payroll time card audit, and it's supposed to skip to that staff response on the bottom. So there's 2 chunks of paragraphs that got
Okay.
accidentally not deleted. Yes.
It is better on the website now that I'm looking at it. I realize we haven't looked at it in a while, but it's more aligned with what we want.
Yeah, we've relayed the messaging to our
Yeah,
communications
yeah.
team. Okay,
I have a question, Christina.
yes.
Yeah. I followed the payroll information
Mhm.
for the last 2 years
Mhm.
on the Project 28, the Iron
Mhm.
development. And so I was looking at the list of the current projects, looking for Project 28. And I see that it doesn't exist as Project 28, but it's morphed into maybe.
I believe 89. Mhm.
So what determines that?
Transition.
Yeah,
Sure.
it's like last year they were doing maintenance and operations, I
Um,
believe. And so so the
Sure.
question is, what determines that?
So what happens is, P28, the Minor Yakima public access project, that was actually the capital improvement of itself. The staging, building the staging area, the trails. And last year when you reviewed it, we were still kind of like wrapping up. There was still some grant reporting, and kind of, tying the loose ends. The project wasn't truly completed. But what happened was, once we started opening it to the general public, we considered that handing it over to the field for operations and maintenance. And so that right now is being coded, the field staff time mostly would be in P89.
So it becomes its own separate project.
Correct.
So just a nit here,
Mhm.
and the way I was trying to find it, I was saying, oh, mine, we got will stand out, and I look in and,
Yep.
and so we're calling it Coyote Ridge, and I don't know, is that okay to say Coyote Ridge by itself now?
22 is this.
No, that's an it, and I don't want to sound pedantic, but it's
But I also think it's important to really use mine and People, of course, we use.
yeah.
Native American.
Yeah, I'm looking
Got
at
it.
the,
Okay.
the
Yes.
listing of the projects here. So, I don't know,
I just have to update it in Acumatica.
yes, I don't see it as a problem, but, it was funny, I was just saying, okay, it's got to stand out, right? But it's got reverse.
Yeah.
Accents.
Yeah.
And whatever.
Yeah, so P28 won't be found. It's been as of 2 fiscal years ago, it was marked as completed. It was a completed project. Yeah. But I will update it in Acumatica, which is our accounting system. So that has Minor Yakima, Coyote Ridge. I believe I should be able to. I just worry sometimes the accounting system with the accents and stuff. I'll double check. It should be okay. Because I spell it out, but we were trying to avoid the acronyms. We had updated the reports because the general public might not know, but I'll double check because these Excel sheets are exports from the system versus the narratives are me typing them out. So I can understand that this discrepancy. I'll check the accounting system and see an update.
As far as the committee's concerned.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter, but it could, you've changed the name and then something in the database doesn't match and then
Correct.
you do. your
And
alternate
that's what's
search.
happening here. Yeah. So I'll go back and look in the accounting system and update accordingly.
So for us, don't bother. Cause a problem downstream.
Yeah, I'll take a look into it.
Right.
Yeah. Mhm. Any other questions regarding the report?
Any other questions?
Okay, and we can actually move on to, I think, everyone's favorite part of the first meeting. So in your packet, and I believe there's also a printout. Did I print out? Yes, the transaction. Yes, you would also got received. It's the one where it's somewhat thick, 50. Yeah, about 50 pages. It has like a bunch of text in the front and then a lot of tables behind it. This one here is the presentation of all our transactions recorded in our financial accounting system. It's an export and it got sorted out into based on the Oversight Committee's recommendations from last year into EPC 1, 2, 3, and 4. And so the categories are slightly different from the previous years. I think the previous years was very focused on either its acquisitions, either it was capital improvement, operations, or grant. So right this year it's a little bit more aligned. There was also some feedback of removing anything under $1,000 for review. And so just to kind of give the committee overview of, we had a total between Q and T, total expenditures were about 7.8 million. Presented as a list of transactions that total about 6.6 million, which is about 85%. You're seeing 85% of all the transactions ever recorded for the fiscal year. Staff does recommend a similar amount of transactions to review as last year. That would be 9. Considering this year's list, I would personally recommend 1 expenditure under EPC 1, 1 under EPC 2, 3 under EPC 3, and 2 urban grant program disbursements under EPC 4, and then 2 time card reviews, and making up a total of 9 reviews. And of the time card reviews, perhaps maybe 1 capital improvement related one, and 1 that's preserve maintenance and operations related. Overview of the payroll and benefits, the expenditures are about 4 million. They were also grouped by payroll project ID and summarized into the 4 categories. So again, if the committee were to follow the recommendations of 1 capital improvement one, they could select 1 project under EPC 3, as well as the open space preserve maintenance operations, that is also EPC 3. And then, should you need more details, we can always provide electronic time cards that are in the system. However, they are not printed here. What you received is a pivot table of the hours. And then the project expenses were about 2.6 million. And I've also categorized it into EPC 1, 2, 3, and 4. And all the copies, once the committee selects it, we'll be providing copies in that binder that we have provided in previous years. So what you are not seeing are remaining expenditures that are not related to those 4 categories. They're not included and they sum up to be about 1.2. So that's the remaining 15% of the expenditures that we recorded that are not in this transaction for selection. And that's because they fall under the 1,000. Yeah.
Just a question on the very first time of meeting, you have listed
Mm-hmm.
the projects for EPC 1, 2, and 3. And then there's non-project projects listed, I'm going to utilities. You don't usually audit anything that would be falling under this non-project list, but
In the past, the committee has not audited anything in that non-project list.
and then just to be clear, the grants aren't listed on this first couple pages, they are in the back of the packet.
This is labor, and no, we do not pay for, like, it's not categorized as a labor.
Right.
Um,
These are projects that we would get for maybe.
yes,
Oh, I'm sorry.
yeah, sorry. Page 2 and 3 is for time card review. So we would, it would be up to the committee's decision, but the recommendation is to pick 2 for time card reviews for this year.
I'm ready.
This is what we worked on and charged in this fiscal year.
Oh,
Yeah.
So it's everything. All the laborers.
Mhm. It is a confidential project, and most of the time it's acquisitions.
so. Okay, so for the new people, what we usually do is go through and we pick one we're interested in. And if we try to do 9, then if anyone wants to do 2, then they can. If there's 7 of us, right? So like you really just can go through and decide, you know, which, you know, pick some that you are interested in auditing. And then we can kind of figure out how they align us with the organization. Because we try to cut, we try to have a talk between EPC 1 and EPC 2 and EPC 3. And so if everyone happens to pick EPC 3, we might go get some fun ones. Does that make sense?
Do, but, so for example, EPC 1. List of all these different, categories. Do we just pick one of these categories?
So you're gonna audit at least one.
I'm sorry, through the chair, if we could use microphones, because they're, yeah, thank you.
So you're gonna audit at least one. You wanna do 2. So one of these. Just one of everything in here, you're just gonna pick one.
Okay, so for example, if I look at this, I picture that.
Yeah.
I saw it, should audit that.
You audit that transaction,
Okay.
but you probably wanna go find something more interesting. And go find a few
Like preliminary.
Witness.
find a few that you're interested in, because like I said, if everyone wants something that falls under one of the EPCs, then we might say, well, can you pick one that's in 1 or 2 or 3? So we tend to try to cover our bases.
And so the question I have is then. Get a binder, and the binder has the documentation for the audit.
And all the instructions.
And then the
And
question.
it has instructions.
Very well documented. It's very clear how to do the audit. So it's if you're like, oh, I don't know what I'm gonna do, you will know.
Okay, perfect.
It's actually.
And I'm always available to answer any
Yeah,
questions.
Yeah, and through the chair, in that packet, I think also that what was printed, if not, it's for sure in the online packet, is samples of the various forms you would use, so you could see the different types of thing you're looking at for a labor transaction versus a hard costs.
Are you gonna do a legal one?
Yes. And will we get, the RACI, reports, or whatever you call them?
So,
these?
so this is we are starting to roll out or figure out a process on how to capture all of that for next fiscal year in response to the committee's recommendation. We do not have it because this is looking back
Okay,
at 24, 25.
right.
Is it something that the person who works on that project could have like a conversation with the project manager? Instead of
Absolutely.
having the formal documentation?
And this is prior to meeting on the 2nd, because the 2nd, after the committee selects the transactions, the respective project manager is notified that their transaction has been selected. So they are aware, they will show up to answer any questions that the committee might have. In terms of wanting to meet with them prior to the meeting, I don't see why not. It's more or less almost like a public requests? No?
Would that meeting, would it have to necessarily be public?
Through the chair, committee members can ask questions of staff. We would just ask that, during the open meeting, you kind of relay what those questions were, what the staff answered, just to kind of reiterate what the conversation was. So that the full, committee can hear and that we can, record it for the public.
So we have a question, we ask the project manager. And then, so you reveal the question and the answer in the next meeting.
Well, no, I was thinking like if you're working on one of the labor ones, and we don't have the rate sheet this year. But you had similar questions, and you might just say, you know, how did you handle this? And just have that information as part of your review of it. But,
Yeah.
you know, I was just kind of throwing it out there, maybe not.
Yeah, I'm only concerned about the transparency, right? This is a public meeting. And anyone and everyone who's interested should be able to get the information. I guess maybe it depends on the type of question, like when did the when did the backhoes show up, and that may not be.
No, that, you know.
Through the chair, if I could make a suggestion for consideration. It sounds like part of the question and the desire for viewing the predicted RACI charts for projects is understanding the roles by position, why were certain folks involved in a project, and the committee's responsibility is to audit these transactions essentially for reasonableness, right? So if, for example, we had a planning project, opening Mayano Yakima Coyote Ridge, and our facilities coordinator spent $50,000 in salary, that might seem odd, right? So we're looking for things that stand out. Could staff offer, when you've selected which labor, which project you want to review for labor, perhaps the project manager, and probably with Justina's help too, could do just a little write-up of, here are the positions that worked on the project. This is essentially what they would have been responsible for in a general manner. We won't have the dates the backhoe showed up, for example, but we could tell you that, you might see my time, for example, show up on a project. Why might an AGM be involved? So maybe we could take it from being proactive and offer you kind of what the various roles might, what they might have done in their capacity for a particular project. More details if we know them, but we can give you a flavor for when you look at the hours, and then you might still have questions, which we'd be happy to entertain as well.
Yeah, information that's offered to us, that's great. And, we've done this last year.
Couple
before.
times, yeah.
And I don't think there was any, I was doing Project 28, so, and I was satisfied, right? There was no, there's no weird, money spent on some goofy.
But we actually did ask questions that we feel would be addressed by RACI. And
Yeah,
I know I hadn't expected it to be another year until we got to see it.
Yeah.
So I think.
So perhaps, this is essentially
A mini RACI.
a mini RACI, and it's going to be more accurate, based on the role. We can give you an idea of what that role in the agency would have performed on a project.
Yeah, I'm sure we're not, well, the reason why we're here is ask the obvious questions.
Yeah.
And, if you say, why is why do you have a seasoned staffer who's supposed to be, maybe opening up place to the public when it's not even open yet, right? That kind of stuff.
Yeah, things that won't make sense to you on its face, and that is exactly why we enjoy having you look at the transactions to make sure there's nothing odd.
And maybe it's, oh, well, we did spend a couple of days training these people for.
Yeah.
You know, to get a lay of the land, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So-
For the labor one, where we take, maybe just for those projects, we get kind of a mini, the person doing
Yeah,
will get like a mini receipt so that they can have it during their evaluation.
Yeah, but we can offer you that as opposed to having,
That's
make
great.
you wait for it.
yeah, that's great, thanks.
What, I'm sorry, what is racy?
What is that? That's essentially their project timeline.
Yeah.
Like when, and milestones, when things start with it.
What is the
Was
word?
it- Sorry,
RACI, I love it.
through the chair, RACI is, it's actually a roles and responsibilities chart on a project. And so R is for responsible, A is for accountable. If S is sometimes included, that would be support. C is a contributor. So you would identify that Lisa is responsible for this project. Dennis is an accountable part contributor or an accountable person. And, you know, Jeff and Andrea are contributors to it. And so it helps, and I is for informed. So it's a very common project management tool to help identify the roles and responsibilities within a project. Yeah.
Never an accountable group.
You're never in the accountable group? I'm so sorry, Jeff. I'll put you there next time I get to make an example.
So do we want to start like claiming, can I go?
Sounds good.
Yeah, I'd like to do the payroll, slide for, 89. Or
Okay,
I will lift, I will not my.
Here we are, next door.
Yes.
yeah.
No,
So-
so-
Through the chair, Justine, is this something you'd like to walk the committee through?
I could, so,
Yeah.
But
sure.
You're very helpful and then.
Sure, no problem. Yeah, so the front page is what I kind of summarized in terms of the breakouts. Page 2 and 3 are the samples for time card review. And again, going by what the committee decides, but the recommendation is perhaps picking 2 projects. So then among the group, the committee would have to decide which 2 reviewers are reviewing those 2 payroll and select 2 from there. Seems like P89 has been, one of 2 has been selected. So there's room for 1 more. And then following on pages 4 through 13, those are hard costs. So no longer associated with labor. These are the hard cost expenditures related, charged to the projects that are falling under EPC 1. And they mostly EPC 1 tends to relate with acquisitions. So if that is of interest to you, you are likely to find a transaction here to audit. And then starting on page 14, and this one is one of our lighter EPCs, page 14 to 18 are expenses charged to projects that fall under EPC 2. And EPC 2 are typically consist of projects that are restoration projects around water streams, watersheds, lakes, rivers. So if that is of interest to you, there will be an expense in here for one of those projects. And then starting on page 19, all the way up to page 40. So that is 19 to 40. Again, that's our thickest stack right there. How it correlates back to those pie charts that I presented earlier. These are all the expenses that are charged to projects, hard cost expenses to projects that are falling under EPC 3. So these would have expenses for capital improvement projects. They would have expenses related to maintaining our open space preserves. It might have expenses related to connecting people to nature through our volunteer and environmental educational programs. So that's what you would see there. Then starting from page 41 to the end are all our grant disbursements for the year. And so if that's of interest to you, you will be able to find a transaction in there.
And it's labeled at the bottom, in the very bottom.
Yes, sorry, maybe I should have gone with the lay of the land. Yeah, there's a page number on the lower right-hand side and then the category on the lower left-hand side.
Yeah, I was just meaning, maybe we go through it sequentially,
Sure,
so like, do the.
sure. So would we like to start with the hard costs first or?
Oh, I was saying so sequentially for the list.
Oh,
Let's do the picks rather than bounce around.
well, usually what we do is let people pick what they first want. And then figure out what we've covered.
Okay.
So if everyone, sometimes it just works out that everyone just picks what they want. Like, you know, so you might want to go through students, and if independent, like you see a agency one and an agency two, kind of mark them both, and then when we go back and move, kind of see where everyone falls.
Okay.
It's just, that way people get what they want and not just kind of stuff. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Have you gone through and looked at all?
Yeah, I've looked through it.
Since we can just start going
Yeah.
over, yeah, what people want and see where we are populated. That makes sense.
And then within each category, the transactions are sorted by the value, the amount from highest to lowest. So that's also another way to,
One question.
yes,
Like, for example, because some of these are gonna be fixed costs. So they're obviously a contract, like the land is communication for the social media.
Mhm.
So if you're auditing that, I mean, it's the same amount every month, so.
correct.
I mean, are you reviewing the contract to see how it?
So yes, in the binder, not only do you get to see the transaction, you get to see the purchase order that was approving it. That might be like maybe a year's worth. Yeah, there will also be, if depending on the amount, if it's $50,000 or more, you will also get the board report and see the board approval, as well as I'm trying to think. Sorry, I'm blanking out on whether I know that for the grant disbursements, the grant agreement is included in the binder. So we do provide a bunch of a variety of backup documentation to support that transaction.
Like the transaction. Like, here's the original request, here's the PO, here's the board of people, whether it all line up, what's in, you know, is the invoice line up, does the bill line up, is the final payment line, and kind of making sure that what the project was supposed to be for and the amount of money it's supposed to be kind of really has been followed. So we're not really measuring like, did you spend the money well, or even if you're overspent, it's more like, have you documented everything you've done so that if there is any problem, you know, the authorities are aware of it. We're not losing money, or we're not accidentally overspending money. It's more like that. Does that make sense?
Yes.
The guy who wrote the checklist.
So, I mean, then for fixed cost contracts, I mean, if you just expending the same amount every month, I mean, it's not really much to audit then.
They don't. But you can if you're interested. You're like, I wanna see how that works. Take it and, you know, you can pick more than one. You can pick 5. You can have this thing you want.
So a little bit of the intent of the audit also covers a lot of internal controls. So please bear in mind, a lot of the audit has been done by the auditor in terms of the numeric, you know, the expenses and stuff like that. But I think a little bit of where the committee has a hand is looking at how the agency is tracking and approving expenses and paying it, and tracking if we're.
For the check side, being paid to the right party, you know, that you know, made the contract.
Yeah.
Those sort of things.
Don't you have internal controls for that though?
We
That's what
do.
we're checking. And a lot
And
of
the
internal
auditor
control-
does also review that, but this is the committee's additional kind of sampling.
Like 10 years ago, right? Like that's a lot of what happened 10 years ago is the committee would say, well, how are you sure that this was really approved? Oh, we need to document that. And how do we know the right person approved it? Oh, we need to document that. So a lot of this internal controls is our checking to make sure the internal controls are correct. And we do make recommendations every once in a while to improve the internal.
And what you'll get in the package, you respond to on a one page, answering questions, verifying that, this PO project number matches something else. If it doesn't, then you ask the questions. And fortunately, we do not find mistakes, but we do spot maybe gaps where information may be not available and should be, right? And so, as you were saying, the questions and the process has evolved since I was here in 2018. There's a lot of, not a lot, just changes that made probably Justina can answer that, made the process more transparent to the public.
Yeah, so I think when the committee was first formed, they were provided an financial audit as well as a status report. And as kind of all the years went by, besides those two, they wanted to embark on making this sampling process as well to aid the oversight report. It gives them a deeper dive into the transactions, being able to see the accounting system and how it works and tracking, rather than just the 5 pages of the financial audit itself. So this kind of gives them a flavor of the transactions.
And through the chair, if I may, while internal controls are definitely something, if you are finding or having recommendations, of course, would love to hear those. But a larger part, I think, of the review process is also looking at that appropriateness of the expense to that expense category of the Measure T or Measure Q dollars, right? Like that's in many ways kind of like the high level charge, and the pieces of how you get there includes reviewing some of the controls and all of that. But it's also to say, even using the example of, a monthly services contract, but being able to help identify that the services are in fact being used when you look at unique monthly invoices for work that supports our delivery of those expenditure plan commitments in Measure Q and T. So that's really the ultimate oversight, right? Is the appropriateness of the spend, but part of getting to that appropriateness includes some evaluation of the controls and process that helped us expend that money.
I've always thought that Measure Q and Measure T went out to the voters with the promise that there would be an independent oversight committee looking at the figures. Of course, we can't dive as deep or looking at every single project. But I asked the question: how does the professional auditor look at it? What does he use to? It's not like Justina says, "Well, you should audit these 5 projects." No, they pick the projects at random, and but the public can see his report, their report, but they look at the our committee as I guess the public's view of the expense report, because it's their money. Every year they're paying a certain amount of money, and they have a right to know that it's being spent the way it should be spent. So that's where we come in. And so far, there's been no fuss like those. We haven't crossed egregious situations at all. Still looking, guys. We're keeping our eyes open.
And so, we aren't conservation experts, but, we can, ask the questions that the public would answer, and reasonable questions. So we see ourselves in that role, at least I do. There's a lot of trust and, that goes on, but President Reagan said, trust but verify, right? So we're the verify.
I have a question along those lines. So if I, one of the areas I'm interested is in the consulting contracts.
Mhm.
So obviously when consultants bill, they're usually just like a flat rate. So would this be going back to the consultants to get them to open their books to justify, or you just get
It's
the invoice that they give you?
correct.
Which wouldn't have a breakdown of,
It would depend on the consultant's invoice. Not all consultants are flat. Some do bill hourly. And then like I'll take one consultant, for example. They might be working on 60% drawings, and they would just kind of have the name of their employees. So it really depends on the invoice. I won't say that every invoice is the same.
so they'll just bill for the project. or,
Correct.
40 hours on
Yes.
project number, blah, blah, blah. But you won't get a breakdown of what they did for those, like if they billed 30 hours, like what they actually worked on. It's just they're billing towards that project number.
Correct.
So there wouldn't be any more detail coming back from them.
No. Yeah, that's why it depends on the invoice. Some consultants provide time cards behind it. Some invoice would have a breakdown like a table.
Yeah.
And some would probably have the person a little blurb of what they did. And then have that total number of hours that month or something like that.
We limited to reviewing what
We
was
received.
submitted by the consultant, accepted by the agency.
Yes,
Or and.
yes.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
or the authority, sorry.
Yeah.
But that would be an appropriate question to ask. If you're, and maybe the consultant, if you're interested in one that like doesn't give a breakdown, maybe could help find one of those. Because the question would be, how does the authority make sure that the amount they're being billed is correct? Right, so if they're not providing a breakdown, then how does the authority make sure that they charge us for 20 hours? Did they do 20 hours worth of work? Or did they complete the work they were supposed to do for this bill? So if you don't see that documentation, that's a question you can ask. And in the past, if we felt uncomfortable with the answer, we've made recommendations like this type of billing should get this kind of documentation. So that's the kind of thing that we do. And they don't always accept our recommendations, but they've accepted a lot. When you see the documentation you're gonna get for these, it's a lot, and a lot of it came out of this committee saying, we want a copy of this Acumatica page and this Acumatica page, and we want the invoice, and we want the check. And everything else, so it is a process, and we usually can also make new additions to it if it seems appropriate.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just going more on the standard of how consultants will bill. I mean, it's generally like it's kind of on an honor system for a lot of the billable hours. So that's why I was asking, like, you could go back and get the detailed breakdown, because every consultant has to be prepared to open their books upon request by any government agency. So I was just asking if we have access to that or not.
Through the chair, we wouldn't go back and ask the vendor to open their books. There is an approval process. The folks ordering the work review those expenses and sign off on them to approve them to be paid. So there is an internal review. If someone felt something was out of line, then they would question them at that point, have a conversation, that sort of thing. Again, the committee's charge is to make sure that the charges are appropriate for the EPC you know, for which number, which part of the plan, sorry, I'm at a loss for words. So we wouldn't go, I don't think we would need to go back and go that far in detail unless you found something that really just didn't add up. But I think what you'll find, most of these are fairly straightforward. Remember to, well, and I won't say remember because I don't think we actually explained this very well, what your process is going to be. When you've selected your transactions to review, there's a cover sheet that we ask everyone to fill in. Did we supply the appropriate backup? Is it dated within the fiscal year that you're reviewing, and many other details? And when you come back to report out to each other and to staff with your findings for your result, the project managers will be here. So if you have questions that you couldn't answer with the documentation given, they will be here to fill in any of those blanks. And it could very easily be, how did you know they worked 20 hours or they completed task Y? Completely fair questions, and you'll have staff available to talk to for those things.
And I might add, if we're still unhappy, we'll put them in the report.
That's exactly it.
And
And we usually request a change to the process. So if it's like a piece of backup information, we feel needs to be it, like this, we asked them for the RACI and they're doing it. And apparently it's hard enough, it's gonna take a year, but they're not arguing, they're not saying, no, we shouldn't do that, they're saying, we think that's a good idea, we'll do it, and so they're very responsive that way. Which is part of what's reassuring, because if they push back, then you'd start questioning, yeah. The same thing with this overview of the labor costs, was Dave who brought it up a couple of years in a row, saying, how do we review the process for labor costs, and now we've got a process for it, so. That's what the committee does. And now you guys. You know, it's different, you have a different perspective, so it might, you know, add to it.
Okay. So it seems like, are we still kind of, everyone's picking one? Did you want me to still continue to walk through the categories?
we start with category 1, and if anyone has picked one of those, then we can decide.
We're taking one.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna end up with 1 or 2, but we get there is.
Yeah, it's just like Kelly Ruth, because people like to pick ones they're interested in. They don't want to feel, I have to pick a number 4. They really want a number 1. And like, I don't care, so I'll wait till everyone makes their choices and then. So, yeah.
That's why I was like, right away.
You want, he always, he's been reminding me often about how it's 4 years in a row.
Well, you know, it's because it's something I can put my hands on, or I don't walk on. But, yeah, have a look and,
Start with number 1.
I mean, through the chair, the staff's recommendation of the split of the 9, is that something that you guys would like to consider, perhaps to help guide? Committee can change, but on the beginning, the first page, if we're keeping the same number of samples as last year, that would be 9 samples. Given this year's the makeup of the expenses, we're very light on acquisitions. We didn't close a lot of properties, so then is just 1 transaction from EPC 1 sufficient? Would you like to do 2? You know, I think, would that help in any way for the group to determine how many from each category, or?
It's a good enough timeline, but I don't think we absolutely.
Okay.
As long as we have at least 1 from every.
Okay.
Every one of the 5.
Okay. So in that case, yeah, we could start with EPC 1. Yes.
So, yeah, it'll be.
Sure.
I don't know.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
If I say I want PPP 1,
And then just the lay of the land, there are row numbers on the side. If you could just let me know under EPC 1, you're looking at transaction row 10.
EPC 1, transaction 19. Right, that's it. It's a environmental consulting engineering.
Sorry, you said row 19? Yes, so. Yeah, so then I would verify row 19, the one that's $12,898.11.
That's my place.
Okay, got it.
Sorry. You're too slow.
Yes.
Which one do you want, the labor number?
89 I had recorded.
Yeah, 89.
Does anyone else want an EPC one? No, feel free to grab one if you're in.
Due to, row two,
EPC 2. Row 2 on EPC 2. So that one is to Triangle Properties, 126,789.69. Confirm? That was,
that's the one I'm interested in.
got it.
That one for EPC 3,
EPC 3.
page 20. Row 12.
Row 12, got it for $13,532.39.
That's part of that, backcountry.
Yes, yes.
Oh, cool.
I have no idea. You have another one at EPC 3, right? Or 4 is the one.
4 would be related to grant disbursements, our urban grant program.
Yeah.
It's work a little differently than the other project.
One more detail.
Yes, so I'm hearing that probably as a newbie, I should stick with an EPC 1, 2, or 3.
No, not necessarily.
Those are trickier, right?
They're just a different topic.
They're just a little different, but I would say they're tricky.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would actually say you had some great questions about grants, and so you selecting a grant might be a good match to apply your. Yeah,
Okay.
just to nudge.
No compression.
Well, how about this, EPC 4. Grant number 3, the Children's Discovery Sequence.
Row number 3, sure. $75,993.20. Is that the one I'm?
Yes.
Okay.
Been there, done that, not doing anymore.
So we have 1, a 3, a 4, and a. One labor, and a labor. Are we missing a 2? You do 2? Do we have 1 of each already? Good. Okay.
Can I ask this aside
Mhm.
question? If when I do these grants, I'm dealing with you all, right?
Yes.
Justina,
with-
for the committee also, especially our new members, Justina is your primary person to connect with when you
Yes.
have questions about the process or records or what you're looking at in the binder. And also, yeah, hello. Lee and I support as Administrative Operations Manager and AGM of Administrative and Field Operations, kind of having the accounting processes under our purview with just the operational side as and being the liaison to kind of the agency as a whole. There's some quick introductions, but yes, Justina is really who you would be while doing your review. If you found you had like a tangible question that about the documentation you were provided or something feels missing, or are you filling out your form correctly, or things like that, she could help guide you with that. And then as mentioned at the next meeting, everything we select today, the staff who can speak on those items best will be present. and ready to answer what tangible questions your review brings.
And if you want to reach out to any of us, can too. Happy to. I am going to request, PC1 line, 3.
Okay, to HT Harvey, 25,718.38. Is that the correct line? Oh, sorry, you said EPC 1, right? I was sorry, I am on 2. I apologize. Road 3 of EPC 1. Got it. CMG landscape, $52,189.84. Okay.
They were line.
EPC 4. That one is to Green Foothills Foundation, 18,890.29.
Now you're bringing up Chicago title really makes you want to look at it. Preliminary title.
So we are currently at 7 transactions total. We have 1 labor, 2 EPC 1s, 1 EPC 2, 1 EPC 3, and 2 EPC 4, which is a grants.
We did all of that.
But yeah. Let's take one for Linda, or 2 for Linda to pick.
Yeah, I know I was just gonna say, somebody made the comment earlier, she could pick later, but we do need to actually settle on something for her to do today so that Justina can move forward with preparing the transaction by then. So be nice to Linda.
Next. One.
Give her the 99.
Is it, sorry, is this a labor or is this?
They-
Oh, okay.
You know, okay.
99 El Toro.
Yeah, she's mentioned.
I don't think, I mean, unless you really want to, I would suggest maybe the new will not take more than one, just in case.
I can do more than one.
Yeah, you never know which ones are gonna be complicated, actually. It can be $10 and can be complicated, it can be 120 and be 1 line.
How many labor do we have already?
We already have 2 labor,
Okay, so we
but
have the
that,
two. I mean, I'm happy doing 2.
Go for it.
I think we only have, how many do we have for EPC 3 right now?
1.
Would you mind taking EPC?
I'll take another EPC 3.
I have a question, general question about the possibility of a ballot measure. Not happening.
I'm sorry, I wish
Oh.
the shaking my head was if the chair permits, but
Oh, I
that's not really a question for the,
Okay.
that's on our agenda.
No, I'm just gonna fill the gap, that's all. Give her some time, but okay.
I'm gonna do a social media one. It's page 21,
Mhm.
number 22, Landis Communication.
Got it. Okay, $7,493.75. And that would make it at 2, 6, 8, 9 transactions, if that is the number the committee would like to settle on. Recap: 2 labor, 2 EPC 1, 1 EPC 2, 2 EPC 3 and 2 EPC 4. So basically 2 of each except for EPC 2, the water related restoration projects. Yeah. Okay, I'll get cracking on it. And that does,
I understand the process. When the next meeting is when we would present our findings to each other and staff.
You wanna,
sure. So right now it's near the end of January. I should have the binders completed by around late February. Perhaps we could aim for, do we have, I don't think it's settled for dates, right? I think we could
There's
also,
3 dates to present to the committee for their
okay.
coming back. So if you
So-
can commit to a when they would have their homework, then maybe they could help decide if that's enough time.
Yeah. Late February,
Okay.
yeah.
So if Justina would be, yes, providing the binders, which would include all of the transactions, not just the one you've selected, but everybody would be receiving the same binders. And then the charge to go independently conduct your review. We have a couple of dates in early April that then we would propose as our date for meeting number 2. And at that meeting, the committee would come back with the review forms filled out, questions for the project managers. And at the conclusion of that, the committee nominates a subcommittee to then go kind of write up the collective report of all of the findings. And so that's kind of the next couple of steps here.
we finish the worksheets and turn them in.
Oh, yes, they do have to be turned in early because they are included
In the
part of
packet.
the public notice with the packet to the, for the meeting.
Yeah.
So,
And so when you turn it in, if you have open questions, you just write it on your sheet, and if you say, I cannot say for sure that this is correct, you just leave the question on the sheet, and then we resolve it in the meeting. So you don't have to have everything done before you do have to turn the sheet in because she has to publish it, but you don't have to have everything done before the meeting.
Okay. What's the lead time before the meeting that you need the forms back?
So 2 weeks, we put to, sorry, I'm thinking out loud. So once we have an established meeting date, the packet comes out generally the Friday before, and we usually ask for the reports the week before. So just to give you some time to put the packets together.
yeah, so like maybe 10 days before the meeting date itself, kind of ballpark.
Doesn't matter, we're all doing this tonight.
And,
Back in high school.
Hey, speak for yourself.
and in the binder, there will be a due date, because then hopefully by today, we would also settle on meeting number 2 date.
It's 2 weeks to do the actual.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, at this point, you'll at a minimum have a month. Oh, yeah. So if you're game, I could let you know, what those dates we're looking at are, if everybody wants to pull out their calendar. Be efficient with our time and save some future polling, via email. If I can toggle back to my notes. So we're looking at 3 dates options in early April. The first date would be Thursday, April 2nd. In the morning, we have a 9:30 to 11:30 window that we would propose for that day. The alternatives would be Wednesday, April 8th, of which there is quite a large window of time, 11 to 4, that we could, within that, have some flexibility. Or Thursday, April 9th. Did I just say February in there somewhere? Sorry. Well, as I said April again, my brain was like, heard myself say February. I don't know. The last date would be Thursday, the 9th, also in the morning, sometime between 9 and noon.
So you know that week of April 6th, spring break for a lot of schools.
Good to know.
Both of the middle one?
April 8th, 11, somewhere between 11 a.m. and 4 p.m. And we can go back to the drawing board if we need to. These would be for our team. In terms of kind of where we were at with some of our recurring processes, these were the earliest dates we would propose, so anything else we would come up with would be kind of the week following or later.
Do you want some input right now?
I would love it, yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna be that person. I'm on vacation the 8th and the 9th, so the only date that works for me is the 2nd.
Okay.
I'm the same because, school age kid here, so
Yeah.
we're out of town. Spring
Okay.
break.
Great,
Second works.
the second works.
Works for me.
Works.
All right.
Look, we're done. See,
Second.
and that's, thank you for being that person, Lisa. It only takes one person to start the conversation. Great.
You already had a time frame?
We had a time frame of 9:30 to 11:30, so it'll, coffee. We'll make sure everybody's well caffeinated for a robust discussion. Yes. And Caroline will follow up with, I'm sure as kind of a meeting wrap up, we'll get you guys confirmation of that date. I see you all putting it in your calendars now, and I love that. But we'll also put it in writing to you to prepare.
And that meeting is usually shorter than this.
Yeah, at that meeting, again, the primary two agenda items are the reviewers coming back and sharing their comments on selected transactions and discussing the review process documentation. And potentially asking questions of project managers based on how the review process went. And then a very administrative function of appointing members to the subcommittee who will write the oversight report. And then that group will have a couple of months, usually 6 to 8 weeks or so, to assemble that report.
And that report is 98% written. We just changed out a small portion of it. So, yeah, that's not a huge.
Yeah, the committees in 2016 definitely had a much higher to do on that item. It's been an evolution every year since then, so always room for improvement, but not a start from scratch process. Wonderful.
And that's it from me as well.
Yes.
Yes.
One comment through the chair, if that's okay. Elizabeth mentioned it, that Justina is your point person for questions, and I just want to reassure you that Justina is very available, incredibly knowledgeable. What she doesn't know about a particular transaction, she knows the right folks to reach out to. So you may walk away today either feeling a little unsure or a little confident. And I will put $10 down that says by the time you actually go to do the work, you might feel the opposite. So we're here to support you. If you can't reach Justina, Elizabeth or myself are happy to take your call, your email, and get it to the right person. But I just want to assure you, because I know half of you are doing this for the first time. Dennis, I can't remember if you actually got to do transactions last year, or you were witnessing the unveiling, right, of the. Right.
Luckily, I did not have.
Yeah.
Now
So
it's
I just want to let you know, we're here. And if you need to come in and sit down with the paper and take a look at things.
Yeah.
That's okay too. We're happy to support you in any way that makes sense for you. So that's my.
Once you get started with it, and start answering questions, yes, no, it's. Most of it's just obvious, do the numbers match? Yes, right. And yes, all the way down.
I would not say it's necessary. I had one last year that took me 2 weeks to figure out.
Oh.
And it was not a very big project either. But it wasn't like it was impossible. You just kind of look, right? You'll see.
I remember that one. And also, I'm also available after I think it might be helpful after the binder's published. Check if you need to walk through the binder. I can also, be available, because a lot of the documentation in that binder are screenshots from our system. And so if it's just more of like where to look on that page, I could just easily point out. I do circle like where to look and to highlight it out. But again, it's yeah. So again, but if there needs a walkthrough, I am available. That's it.
That it?
Mhm.
Any questions? And I guess, at this point, we can go to, the information reports from staff.
We were able to do the only item I had on my radar in that last item, which was to make sure we had due dates. So that is, I think, the only tangible information other than there is just a lot of good stuff happening at the board level with some presentations on some of these projects. And I know a lot of you are personally interested in what we're up to. There's been a recent presentation actually on the Coyote Valley Conservation Areas Master Plan that went to the board last week. And so definitely encourage reading those reports, which are available on our website on the public meetings portal, or even watching the videos for the discussions. But some really good stuff on a lot of these projects is coming through in 2026. So just to whet your appetite for when you're still committee members in a few years, looking back at 25, 26, because none of you get to go anywhere now that we have a full committee.
We didn't even find for it.
No. Yeah, I think that's all, unless Leah just.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Oh, Lee does.
Just to throw out that, although you are reviewing fiscal year 24-25, staff is actually beginning to draft, fiscal year, 26-27, which just sounds like 100 years from now, but it's not that far away. So we're actually beginning that draft of the work plan and the budget, and that will be going to the board in June. So we want to make sure that we keep you all with lots of things to review in the future.
All right, thanks.
Clarify question. Very good.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I'm gonna ask it later, this might. Oh, yeah. I'll ask it later. Okay.
Sorry. My calendar.
So, the only committee, I guess, subcommittee, committees we have is recruitment, right? Okay, and success. Want to add anything to that?
I have to say, I did interview both candidates, and I was extremely impressed by their resumes. I mean, I've been much better at this than I am, so.
Yeah, really. I was high level. I didn't get any.
Oh.
I really appreciate what you said. I really appreciate you said. I'm a little nervous because it's always the board level, so.
Yeah.
We're all.
I know we're on the board, but I was not the committee. I was more, but.
The one thing about what I've discovered here is, everyone that we work with is extremely professional, knowledgeable. I've come in a couple times and Carolyn's helped with stuff, and I'm happy to be here. Just really, it's a great organization. Very impressed with what you actually do. It's kind of see the science and the news about it on the space, but you don't realize what's all behind it. So I'm thankful that I'm here, and I'm thankful of that new. So I'm not the newbie anymore.
Yeah, thanks, Dennis. Anything else? So at this point, if there's nothing else, I guess we're gonna finish up. All right. So do we need a adjournment?
Yes, you can hit the gavel, tell us what time the meeting is.
We're done. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
So I knew that GIS has.
If I pick one of the